Hello, my name is Tiwari and welcome to our build-up coverage to the World Test Championship Final, where today we look at the top 5 moments from this cycle of the World Test Championship. Now, some test matches reach a juncture where the result is a foregone conclusion. This one between Bangladesh and the West Indies had reached a similar stage. West Indies needed 395 to win on the final day, and the Bangladesh bowlers on a typical subcontinental track had their tails up because they'd reduced West Indies to 59 for 3. But then came out Kyle Mayers, who put on the board 210, scored a double century on debut, becoming only the 6th batsman to do so in the 4th innings and the first to do so on his debut. He combined forces with N. Bonner at the other end. The two of them put together 216 runs as the West Indies gunned down 395 against Bangladesh on that dreary track, rewriting history because 395 now stands as the highest ever successfully chased total in the 4th innings in Asia. On that day, Kyle Mayers, who hit 7 sixes and 24s, not only rewrote history but also personified and perhaps redefined grit and determination and proved to the world that it ain't over until it's over. No matter where you play your cricket, every player dreams of performing at the big stage. And while that's a dream in every player's head, only a few are able to live up to that expectation when it matters. Homeboy Ravichandran Ashwin in the second Chennai test between India and England did just that. Now, there was a lot of context to this test match. India was 0-1 down, one more loss and they would have failed to make it to the World Test Championship final. Up steps Ravichandran Ashwin, picks 8 wickets with the ball, surpasses Harbhajan Singh in the process to becoming India's second highest test wicket taker in home tests, only behind Anil Kumble. His contributions though weren't limited to just the ball. He stepped out to bat with India at 106 for 6, willing to put a huge target on the board for England to chase. Scores a scintillating century. India put on 482 for England to chase, which they failed to surmount. This was the 3rd time in Ashwin's test career that he'd picked up 5 wickets and also scored a century. And at the end of the test match, after India won, a poignant Ravichandran Ashwin was very happy that he could achieve this feat and contribute to his team's cause at his home ground in front of his home crowd. Now, there were moments in this WTC cycle which, if they'd gone any other way, the lineup of the finalists in the WTC final would have looked very different. One such moment came in the test match between New Zealand and Pakistan, where New Zealand set 373 for Pakistan to chase. At 75 for 4, Pakistan seemed like they were tottering, but then Captain Mohammad Rizwan as well as veteran batsman Fawad Alam batted for over 60 overs, keeping New Zealand at bay. Kyle Jamieson came back to break the stand, got Rizwan. Then Neil Wagner got Fawad Alam. New Zealand thought they were very close to victory, but Pakistan's lower order was going to give them a fight, and a fight they gave. They batted for over 100 balls, and right at the fag end of the day, Mitchell Santner bowled one to Naseem Shah, who chipped one in the air. Santner leapt up, caught that ball. New Zealand won the test match, got the full points from that test. But who knows? Had he dropped that catch, had Naseem batted 3 extra balls, this test would have ended in a draw, and perhaps we would have seen an England or an Australia in the WTC final. So for this final berth in the WTC, New Zealand have Santner to thank. Alright, this moment needs some context to be set. England in the Ashes are 0-1 down. In the 3rd test, they are bowled out for 67 in the 1st innings and are set a target of 359 to chase in the last innings. They're 141 for 3 when Ben Stokes comes out to bat. He bats and bats and bats, scores a slow half-century, but then goes on to accelerate and goes on to score a century for the ages. In his 135 not-out knock, he towers 8 sixes, the most for any batsman in an Ashes innings, surpassing Kevin Pietersen's knock at the Oval in 2005, on route which he scripts history in the most dramatic fashion, batting with the lower order, and towards the end of it, batting with Jack Leach, who's kept at the other end, Ben Stokes guarding one and scoring all the runs. Now remember, with just 2 runs needed, Nathan Lyon missed a run-out chance where he failed to gather the ball. Now perhaps he also missed a chance to take Australia to the World Test Championship final, because that one win would have meant more points for Australia. But instead, England won that test match in the most dramatic of fashions, ending with a picturesque Headingley erupting in joy. As Ben Stokes held his hands aloft, this was indeed a heist that only someone of Ben Stokes' caliber could pull off. Now, whenever the history of the first WTC cycle will be written, there'll be a specific chapter dedicated to the rise of Rishabh Pant, because this was the man who didn't start the Australia tour as India's #1 wicketkeeper, but ended it as India's highest run scorer, and that has been the highlight for India in the latter half of this WTC journey, Rishabh Pant's resurgence. And the cherry on top came as his 89 not-out knock at the Gabba, where he bamboozled Australia's bowlers, taking them to the cleaners, taking India to a victory, breaching the Gabba fortress that Australia had kept safe since 1988. And while he ended Australia's tour as India's highest run scorer and one of the chief architects of India's win, where India did not have the likes of Virat Kohli, Ravichandran Ashwin, Ravindra Jadeja, Hanuma Vihari heading into that final and decisive test, come the England series, he was at his best again, emerging as India's second highest run scorer, only behind Rohit Sharma in that series. And one of the highlights for me was the way he reverse swept a steaming in Jimmy Anderson with a new ball over the slips cordon. The audacity of Rishabh Pant, the power of Rishabh Pant, the presence of Rishabh Pant has only grown with every test match, and he's proven that he's not just a T20 specialist, he is an all-format player for India, one for the keeps. Now, while these were the moments that made it to our top 5 WTC moments, there are others that we just cannot look away from. The majestic David Warner and his triple century against Pakistan. Jasprit Bumrah tormenting West Indies' batsmen, taking that hat-trick with stumps flying everywhere. Ishant Sharma playing 100 tests for India, and Rohit Sharma's resurgence as India's test opener again. This WTC cycle was laden with such moments and such stories. These were our top 5. What would yours look like? Don't forget to share that with us on Twitter. That's all that we have for you on this update. My name is Tanay Tiwari. Thank you so much for watching.